Bridging the AI gap. What does it take? What are the dilemmas? We're gonna have a great debate. Looking forward. So welcome back at Tech TV, and today it's all about bridging the AI gap, but of course in the context of emerging technologies, and that in the context of growth. There's a lot of discussion about how do we grow our companies, but on the other hand, there's also a great fair discussion about resilience, for an example. But in terms of emerging technologies, we can expect a lot. So I got, again, a great number of tech leaders at the bench today, and we're going to have a fair discussion about how does it work, what are the dilemmas, what can we expect, what do we don't or do or should do, all right, regarding a topic like emerging technologies, and especially about AI. So I got to have a fast round of introduction. I got Bram van Beek. Welcome. I've got Boris from KPN, I got Wim from LBC Tank Terminals, and I've got my dear friend Pavan from Cognizant. Welcome, guys. Let's have a good discussion. Let's start with a quick round of, let's say, the state of mind regarding this topic, right? So a 30-second state of mind regarding this topic to start with.
If I look at AI and in terms of SMB and utilizing AI, it can be an absolute game changer if we crack the code of how we can ensure that the adoption finds its way to the workplace on an operational level.
Right, it's a good one. Works.
I think it's a very interesting time where we're living in, and everybody is already acquainted with AI if they know it or not, because in your phone AI is everywhere already. So it's not a question of should we start with it, it's a question of how we adopt it and how we manage to get the value out of it which we expect, and the expectations are very high, so that makes it also interesting and how we can really get all the value out of it.
Right.
If I can add to that, I mean, the expectations are very high. We have seen more technologies with high expectations and great promises. And I think we can learn a lot by adopting, while we are adopting AI from other technologies that we have seen in the past.
Right, experiences.
Just to add to all the comments, by the way, I agree with all of what is being said, but just to add to that, I think there is a point where AI adoption is going to become a big part. And Cognizant tries to attempt to get that problem solved. AI is high touch. It's not something very simple that it's there on a web page and you start clicking and using it. It's high touch. It requires knowledge to use it. So Cognizant wants to be in that position where it brings it to the use and adoption.
Right. All right. So let's, before we start this conversation, to do a little setting the scene by the first video.
The new world of AI is one of boundless potential. But how can you harness the power of this transformative technology and do it in a way that's flexible, scalable, secure, and responsible? With Cognizant Neuro AI, we've leveraged our decades of experience building AI solutions to create the custom tooling, design patterns, and processes to fast-track generative AI responsibly. Now, we can empower your organization to realize the full potential of your data. We'll guide you through the entire process, building domain-specific Gen AI apps and continuously fueling and training your large language models, assuring responsible AI with transparency and accountability, with enterprise-grade solutions to your biggest challenges, like gaining market and competitor intelligence, supercharging innovation and product development, enhancing and accelerating the go-to-market experience, or automating customer operations. Together, we'll help you manage AI-driven business model changes, re-engineer processes and infrastructure, and ensure seamless integration with legacy data sources, workflows, and systems. So whether you're just beginning to explore the possibilities of generative AI, or seeking support in bringing specific solutions to market. With Neuro AI, Cognizant can help your organization move from AI potential to AI results.
Yep. Well, I think that gives us a glimpse, right, as a starting point. Just to start building this conversation with you earlier explained, peeling the onion, right? So we invested heavily, especially the large enterprises. So today we see that there is a focus on the SME and the mid-markets also, right? So just explain, why is that so important to have that focus, Pavan?
I think if you just look at Netherlands, where we are sitting, the largest number of enterprises here, 99% of them, or more than 99%, are SME. The growth engine is SME. Companies like Cognizant have done a lot for large enterprises already, with more than, I think about, just since it started, more than 150 million saved for those companies on various factors. But then AI, being very expensive, doesn't reach the SME good enough at the moment. Yes, over a period, these models become cheaper with more usage and everything else. But then AI is high touch. By high touch, what I mean is that you need the knowledge to use it. You also need to know all the pitfalls of using it, regulatory, legal, all kinds of problems that you can get into. And that's why this market is very important to address, but also challenging to address.
Right.
You need somebody in between trying to get that, all the AI inventions down to an innovation level where they can be useful in terms of the adoption.
Right.
Not just Cognizant, but I also believe that you need somebody for the access and reach.
Yep.
And I'm very happy to have both KPN represented, both people like Bram represented, who are giving that access to SME today,
Right.
based on regular IT platforms today and AI tomorrow.
Right.
And that's why the whole ecosystem has to be worked up in a partnership. And that's why we are in this discussion also, to explore that scenario together. We have done some exploration. We are at a very nascent starting point. But I do believe that this has great potential going forward because of both the need and the capability we have together to fulfill that need.
So bring that back to the other side of the bench, so to speak, Boris. How important is that these kind of collaborations for KPN?
Actually, it's in the heart of KPN. Due to all these new technologies, the world is changing so fast, so we need companies like Cognizant to join forces with us. We need BSU from Bram to get to the small, medium enterprises to get all those new things also implemented, but also adopted. We also need to sit very close to the customers to understand what they need. And especially with this new area, there's so much to gain, but there are also dangers. And how do you bring this together? And how do you make it that it's not like in the beginning of internet, that it was everything, then it blew itself up, and now it's steady.
So you made a nice point. Do you feel that in terms of that two elements, the two sides of the coin, perhaps even to speak?
Yeah.
So from a business perspective, so what do we bring on capabilities to your customers, but also from the liability perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a big pressure in growth versus resilience, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
Is that something that you understand also increasingly having those discussions with your customers?
Yeah, we have continuously these discussions, and we have, for example, for the low end of the SME market, we have our shops where we go from traditional shops to experience shops to have there the dialogue, and we do education nights there to tell them about the opportunities, but also about the risks. We have a whole academy where we train companies like Bram, which tell it to their customers. And sometimes things are very nice, but in the beginning of AI, Gen AI, there was this big company from South Korea, and they were not really strict on it, and their business plans came on the internet because they used Gen AI.
Right.
And they didn't mention, this is open internet. And nowadays in big companies, you need to be very strict, and also in small companies, that your data is good governed. Because for us, if you go on Gen AI from your company, although it's inside, if you don't do this well, you see private information of your colleagues, which is also not what we want. So, but at the same time, you want people to try use it, because only if you write, for example, an offering for a customer, Gen AI is helping you so much in getting a right text and things like that. So it's both sides of the coin.
Yep. If you take that from your perspective, Wim, these kind of ecosystems, these kind of collaborations, and of course also in the context of what's happening now, in the discussion, what we see, embracing new emerging technologies, going into how can we get it, the maximum out of it in production, etc. Are these the new setup of ecosystems you're looking for as a CEO?
Yeah, yes, as a CIO in general, but also especially for small companies, because you can't have all this know-how in your own organization. So it's a small company, so that's normally not all too many employees. So and the entire world of technology has become so complex that you can't have experts for everything in your own organization. So you have to make sure that you get this collaboration going.
Right. So, and if you then go to you, Bram, so what do you bring on the plate, on the table, so to speak, right? So I got the global, I got the national, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say local, but I think industry expertise, so what do you bring on the plate?
We interpret. So we rely strongly on KPM for specific knowledge, legal, compliancy, and that sort of things. But our customers look at us as a trusted advisor because they're outsourcing their IT to us. That's our business model. So we have to interpret all the best practices that are available so we can deploy the most relevant to our customer for the vertical that they're active in. Because what he says is correct. Our customers don't have the knowledge on everything that is related to ICT.
Right. All right. Great. So if we go to the subject of growth versus resilience, and let's go for the element of emerging technology. So what do you see happening, Pavan, in regards to emerging technologies? Before we touch AI, I guess, right?
Right. In general, in emerging technologies, I think AI is the first one that actually has a EU regulation, for example, that's well documented. So far, with a lot of other emerging technologies, they just emerged, and after that, guardrails were put. But with AI, I think EU has been very careful in putting that right up front. Now, the interpretation of that, is a very difficult task. If you read the EU regulation and everything else, well documented, well done. But at the same time, SMEs and small and medium companies having the expertise to read it, understand it, adopt it, and not have guardrails to not transgress it is a very difficult task. Right? They need guidance, they need support, they even need guardrails in the system that they're using already before this information gets out, before privacy, data, everything gets out. Even if you see the fines that are there in the EU regulation, that if you've used the wrong LLM, large language models, for example, in this emerging technology, the fines are couple of times your turnover. So it can just shut down SMEs. And that might prevent SMEs from actually using the AI.
Right.
And that's the biggest danger. The adoption itself can get stifled before even it starts.
Right.
And that's where we need to help them. Yeah. Just like Bram said, via the channels that we have, we need to give them the guardrails already. They have trusted brands in KPN. They have the secure, reliable networks already there. So all we need to do is make sure that whatever we are putting on our platform is already well tested. Yep. Responsible AI.
Clear for me. But the question then I want to pop up then, of course, is from your side of the table, so to speak, right? So where's your dilemma in embracing emerging technologies?
The
Or isn't a dilemma, Wim?
yeah, so there's always a dilemma because it's endless. We talk about AI as if this would be one technology, but of course it's a myriad of stuff, and it can be very complex and very simple that we call AI, and therefore also each of the different technologies brings their own easiness of adoption or not. So. I think a dilemma that you always have is all the other priorities, and then you would like to experiment with new stuff, and everybody feels we need to do it, but of course it has not a direct effect on your P&L. That will only come later. So probably somebody else should do it, and we will just keep a close watch and follow quickly. All this kind of dilemmas, but yeah, before you know it, you're too late.
Yeah.
From that point of view, I think the dilemma is what's the right time to embark on a new hype,
Right.
so to say.
Right. And if there is pressure on your growth or there's pressure on your go-to-market, I can guess that your board of directors will push you a little bit to enable more and embrace more and to fasten the change of your digital transformation, to fasten the change of the change of your organization model or operating model or even that, right?
Yeah, the board of directors, I would say, of course, they are looking at the big picture. But when it comes to new technologies, your direct colleagues are making much higher pressure,
Right.
because they read the news and they say, Wim, shouldn't we do something with AI? Or I talked to this great technology provider, or to Bram, and they have so great ideas. Shouldn't we embark on this trade immediately because Bram is going to solve all my problems?
Right.
And then I have to say,
Correct.
what did you really discuss with Bram?
Yeah, but what does it mean for you, Boris, in the context of KPN? So you're changing rapidly your service portfolio. You're changing, I guess, also the service levels to your customers, right? So also from an advisory perspective, you're way more go to have in depth now, right?
Yeah.
With or with your point. So what does it say in terms of the transformation of KPN itself, right?
For the transformation of KPN, it's really that we need to make choices because we cannot do all this in all areas AI at the same time. So we have the same problem as a small medium enterprise in that case. KPN is also a trusted brand, so we need to be very careful with our brand. So if we do things, we need to make sure it's correct, it's trustworthy, things like that. If you look at it, AI is already everywhere. So if you now look at the network, we know we use AI to engineer the networks for Formula One so that they can handle the peaks when Max Verstappen was winning. So in a call center, we use AI as a digital assistant towards the customers themselves, so they can have the questions answers themselves. But we also use it for training people on the new technologies who come, because we can then use it in a more personalized way, because you have another need for learning than me. So we get different content there. But we also use it to make summarizations of conversations and then give advice to what would be the next action for our employees towards our customers. So there are many use cases where we embrace it, where we use it. But we need to be focused, because otherwise it's overwhelmed. A customer agent can only handle so much new things at the same time. So if you do too much, they will not use it. And then it's very nice technology in...
Yep. So you heard, I think, a couple of times now also the word adoption, Bram. Mm-hmm. So what are your experiences with that in your customer conversations?
It depends on the organization that we meet. Some type of organization got a high level of digital skills, but we also get a lot of customers that are differentiated in digital skills. So you got the power users, you got the first line workers, And the digital skills are very different. So you have to create a curriculum so you can give training or guide with the user adoption consultant to utilize everything that we offer. For example, Microsoft 365 Copilot. How can you use it? So our experience is that it's always a surprise. And it's a cost thing. So in the P&L, our customers looking at the P&L. Copilot, for example, is an expensive licensing model. How can I utilize that? That €30 per user is going to give me the margin upscale that I expect.
Right. Wim, is it only cost for you?
No, certainly not. Yeah, in the end, you can translate everything into cost, but it's also priorities, complexity, the cost of complexity, so to say. I mean, like you said, a customer agent can just handle so much change in a certain amount of time. Yeah. That's not only true for customer agents, but for almost everybody. So you have to set your priorities, and then, of course, the more complex you make stuff, the harder it is to do more of it.
Yeah. Culture?
Culture, certainly, yeah. So culture is our behavior, and
right.
That is shaped by experiences from the past.
Right.
So that's always hard to change.
Let's do a little context here with a video from.
Wij zijn klaar voor de toekomst. En daarmee markeren we ook vandaag weer als een belangrijke dag in het groeitraject van LBC. Duurzame infrastructuur en de daarbij behorende diensten zijn essentieel om de groeiende productstromen van producten die belangrijk zijn voor de energietransitie en van chemicaliën die bijdragen aan de kwaliteit van ons leven te faciliteren. Deze volgende fase is daarom een versterking van onze rol als verantwoordelijke en verbonden partner in de Rotterdamse haven en in de industrieën die wij bedienen.
Voor de bouw van Tweebouw 3.
Wat ons op een dag als vandaag samenbrengt, is niet alleen dit hoofdstuk van groei voor onze terminal met de constructie van nieuwe infrastructuur, maar vooral onze gezamenlijke inzet voor een betere toekomst. Dat is een verantwoordelijkheid van ons allemaal. Wij zijn trots op onze reputatie als een van de meest duurzame tankopslagbedrijven ter wereld. Wij investeren in toekomstbestendige infrastructuur en zorgen ervoor dat onze groei hand in hand gaat met zorg voor onze omgeving. En ook deze uitbreiding bewijst onze inzet daarvoor.
Zo onderweg naar de uitgang, dat pad dat brengt je langs verschillende mooie momenten. En dit is er één van. En waarom is dat een mooi moment? En daar wil ik toch wel een paar serieuze woorden aan wijden. Want het klinkt natuurlijk wel een project van enige substantie. Maar het staat wel in een redenering die wij niet alleen in Nederland of in Rotterdam, maar wereldwijd heel hard nodig hebben. En dat is toch het verhaal van de energietransitie. Overigens, we spreken over een energietransitie. Ik spreek liever over allerlei transities met een S die de komende tijd op ons pad zullen gaan komen. En die transities zijn van grote betekenis. Transities in het bestaan van een mens worden altijd gedreven door iets wat niet zichtbaar is, maar wel aanwezig is. Een voortstuwende kracht die de verschillende dimensies van politiek besturen te boven gaat. Ik noem het de beschaving.
Ah, that's what I wanted to hear. So let's bring this discussion to the next level. Thanks. I think it's a great video to watch, especially those two remarks. You have an obligation, right, within the energy transition, and you see a nice wording about, I guess, with the mayor, Alutabo, right?
Yeah.
So if we look to deploying and getting in production AI, for example, right? So how conflicting or how supportive can it be if you have these kind of strategies, if you get these kind of big global transformations?
I think the key word there in that video also, and it's very, very inspiring, by the way, that the thought process is on multiple transitions, as he's very carefully stressed. I think with AI, there will be many more, much shorter loops that it will go through before it reaches, the production level where everybody is used to, using it. When that happens, for example, if you look at telecom, there used to be these telecom booths, that people used to run. Now, after that, they transitioned to selling mobile phones and subscriptions. And then now they transition off to repairing mobiles and God knows what in the future, right? If you look at that, that took a little bit longer. Now, if you see AI, the transitions are going to be even more shorter, even for companies like LBC, even for any other transitions that we have to go through. That's the key word. The transitions are going to be shorter. That means that you need to go to production faster. Hopefully, the intelligence in the AI makes you go faster rather than slower. But as long as we solve, just like I said, the adoption problem that we have, which we can build trust, we can build reliability and get there, help people transition faster. So that even more emphasizes the role that we have of this ecosystem.
But what does that mean for KPN, Boris? Because you also have that obligation, right? From a national point of view.
From a national point of view, we have a lot of obligations. And so with data, exchange of data, the use of AI, we need to make sure that it's safe. So that's one of our opinions. All the transport of our data on our networks people need to trust that it's safe. But we are also a huge player in exchanging data between energy companies to help in the energy transition. We are also busy with exchanging data in a safe way via our networks for the health transition. Because with the coming of AI, the analysis of some diseases can be much, much faster.
Right.
But you don't want that to become public if it goes from one hospital to another hospital.
No.
So there comes also for KPN, our core business is networking, and we need to do that very safe.
And if you add one component to that, an interesting one is, of course, the whole discussion, and also from a cloud technology perspective and sovereign cloud perspective. That's an interesting one, I guess, what we're looking for. Also, when you go multi-cloud, right? So expect some announcements coming up, right? But the other perspective I want to touch base on that is that's also, and that's why I used this video. I gladly could use this video, but because we also have this discussion from an economic point of view, production-wise, versus the ethic point of view, right? And it seems a little bit that on the scale from economic and ethics, we are somewhere here, right? Yeah. And the world is laughing, in good Dutch we say, the balls out of our pants, right? Because the rest of the world is here, right? So what does that mean in terms of, well, guardrails, X, ethics, Y, but from that perspective, right? Are we too ethical behavior in terms of adaptive and usage?
No, I don't know if you can be too ethical. I think, and that was also highlighted by the video, we feel very much as an organization, so that's the group of people that makes that organization, that we have our own responsibility. And if we exercise our own responsibility correctly, then the profits will come. And that's what we see. So Frank Erkelens, that you have seen in the video, is very much focusing on customer service and making sure that we become sustainable and that we contribute to the energy transition in the world. And this is what our customers recognize. And they say, okay, we want to be with you. So our company is growing much faster than the market. And we strongly believe that we have a consistent message in that direction already for years.
Is that a kind of a dilemma today, Pavan, we see happening? Is that the capabilities and the potential versus
the ethical dilemma? Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting time. I will tell you why. I think cloud came in. The big hyperscalers came in. They made things very, very easy for IT companies. Brought the economics down so that people can adopt it faster. But what also brought with that is a lot of data sitting on public clouds and becoming available, a lot of mishaps happening during that period of time. I think what's now coming with AI is, in fact, if you really want to use AI, video analytics, stuff like that, you can't even use the cloud because of the less latency that you need for that. What happens then is you need to become local and host these solutions on the edge. There is a technological shift that's going to happen. Those edges are local. They sit in your local region. And in most cases, they also are physically the properties of, for example, telcos. biggest physical property that you have.
Yeah.
What happens with that is that then you can be ethical while providing a really economic solution. The solution, the intelligence on it, you need to bring it to the world. The IP, what I mean by that. But the physicality of it lies locally, which means that you can be as ethical as you want to be and still give a great economic solution. I think that's an opportunity.
Do you recognize that, Boris? Do you see that change? Because today, I think the priority is sovereign versus second is edge, right? Will that change rapidly? Or do you say...
What you see is we talk a lot about we want to have it sovereign, but most of the data is still in public. And then it goes to sovereign, and then it goes to edge. For edge, you also need to have the networks available to deliver this low latency. So there, the new 5G networks are coming in. So there's still a big mix between public, sovereign, private, and then edge. So edge will come up in the coming years. But you take, for example, of using edges in grocery stores. A lot of our grocery stores went to self-scanning, which brings their revenues under pressure because of theft.
Right.
If you then you can avoid these kind of things with using edge applications where you do video monitoring, but then it needs to be close to the endpoints where you go out of the stores. And that are things where you need to have a good network. You need the applications right in the cloud. You then need the right partners on it. Then you need the edge having, and Albert Heijn itself is already their buildings. They need good Wi-Fi for going with the app through it. So that's already a problem of today. So the abilities are huge, but it's a step of different technologies coming together.
So what does it mean for you, Bram, for your organization, in the context of the requirements and not only from an advisory but also not only from a sourcing perspective, but also from a contract perspective, right? Because we're going to see a couple of movements going on, I guess, right? So what does it mean for you as an organization?
It means that I'm going to rely more on the ecosystem in my partner network, so KPN, Cognizant. I'm relying more on them to set the table for me. And I will do my due diligence, look in the market, what is the benchmark, and then I will bring it to my customer. But my customer is overwhelmed by all the innovation. So what must I do? Because I have, mostly they are entrepreneurs, so they're entrepreneuring. But what should I use, what should I bring? And they're relying on me that it's safe, it's compliant, the ethical side is being processed. So,
but you have to make choices also then.
I have to make choices, yeah.
So what is your dilemma then, for example, from your perspective of trusted advisor, right? So there's also an economic model behind it, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Wim knows there's an economic model behind it, right? So how does it develop? Right? And it's not a good or a bad answer, right?
No, I can understand. But what Wim is saying is recognizable. You have to believe in your purpose. So I'm thinking about our purpose, what is our impact at the customer side, and is it complementary at our purpose? So you're staying away from a push effect, but you're creating a pull effect because you believe in something, and our core values are strong, and our customers react on our core values, and they're complementary at KPN's core values. So it's brand orientated.
Is that the aspect, and both for both gentlemen here on the table? Is that the aspect what we need? So if we take the early start of the discussion about the SME, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we see that there's a lot of change in the last 5 years from especially the big enterprises, right? There's no tech push, they accept there's a market pool, right? But if we want to go more productiveness and we want to get more out of this from an SME perspective, perhaps that push is even more important today than letting it loose from out of the pool situation, right? Less experience, less...
Yeah, so first of all, we need to rely on our technology providers. We are not big enough, like most SMEs, to have knowledge about everything. So if you help us to win, we can help you win as well. I mean, there is enough for everybody. So it's more important that you deliver quality than that we negotiate about the price. Because if you make us win, there is enough to share in that point of view. So quality, and that means comes with understanding what are the priorities and what is our purpose in the world. Let's say, then of course I think there is enough money.
No, I think with
the economic model,
economic models that
will work too.
Exactly, and also I think what I was trying to get to also was AI presents a unique opportunity to make all the purposes even more stronger to our own markets locally, I think. And that's what makes it, yes, there is global innovations and everything that we can use, but when we bring it locally, there is opportunity right now to make it even better for the local market, both from ethics, but also economics, both put together at the same time, which makes, technology providers like us, our own purpose even more stronger. To bring that quality at the right economics to everybody that wants to use it.
Right, great. So let's try to wrap it up in a couple of sound bites, right? So what would be your advice to the viewers in terms of AI?
Don't underestimate the cultural change, because you're going from a task-driven working space to an intentional driven workspace, so you have to look at the cultural change.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have a clear idea on what you want to achieve with AI and start small with pilots and experimentations, and be aware what you want to achieve from a value perspective, but also be aware from the negative side.
Right. But fail fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems to get a contradictory today, right? So we see a lot of things that goes in the MVP, right?
Right.
And suddenly we are lacking piloting, right? Bigger, right? So it's also a thing happening. What would be your advice?
I think the advice, at least from my side, that I would like to give is that yes, there is AI available. It's available widely. You can buy it anywhere. There are platforms available to you that you can use in a second if you want to go online and use it. But use a trusted, reliable party where you put your data and use it, because then you don't get into trouble, but also can use all the innovation.
Right. So in the end, it's also about the ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
Right? Yeah. Right. Okay. Wim.
Yeah, advice about using AI is probably the advice that goes for many things, and that is think big and start small.
Think big, start small, right, okay. So what we see is you can debate another 24 hours about closing the AI gap. But I think you got some sound bites here from a great group of leaders. I think that it's not a discussion about right or wrong. It's not about the discussion about growth versus resilience. I think it's the mixture of having common sense and how do you deploy artificial intelligence in a way that it's also not only sustainable, but also carrying a purpose. So looking for in situations like health, right?
Yep.
We already debated that. We have some challenges in logistics, in health, in etc. So it's not only about the ethical stuff, I guess, right? Thanks. Inspiring. Do I need to say anything more? Yes, of course we're going to talk about the digital growth, and we do that in our upcoming summit, October 8th. And do I need to mention something more? Yes, of course, also CEO Day is on the agenda, November 19. Do I say something more? No, later, ciao.
Intelligence is the foundation of any good business. But if every good business has it, how do you stand out? Luckily, there's a tool to heighten your intelligence, build on it, elevate it. It's called intuition. Born from human instinct, some might see it as uncertain or anti-data. But in fact, it's the ultimate demonstration of data-driven decision-making. When it's enabled by technology, intuition stops feeling like a hunch and starts looking like confidence. The kind of confidence you get when you work with Cognizant. The business engineers who help you anticipate expectations and act instantly, as if on intuition. The ones that help you employ IoT so you can sense changes in your customers and company. Who crunch data using AI so you learn about trends before they're trendy. Who create software to help you act on your intuition and deploy it in the cloud so you can convert it into products that produce results better and faster than your competition. It's how Cognizant enriches what you know with the know-how to get to the future first. This is intuition, and we can engineer it. Cognizant. Intuition engineered.